the introduction to computers. Okay, so the objectives of this module or this week, at the end of this module, you are expected to one, introduce the evolution of computers and differentiate the improvement of computer according to its job. And then second, that is to determine the different developer of computer system during the evolution phase. And then third, that is to identify the meaning of computer and enumerate the four parts of computer system. And then fourth, that is to determine the capabilities, limitation, and different uses of computer. Okay, so just to let you know, okay, we have 5 generations of the computer. Okay, so these are the evolution of computer. Okay, so for the first generation, we have the vacuum tubes in 1939 to 1954. And then the second generation, we use the punch card or the transistor that started in 1954 to 1959. And in the third generation, we have the integrated circuit, okay, that started in 1959 to 1971. And then in the fourth generation, we have the microprocessor that is built in 1971 to 1991. But I think still nowadays, okay, we still use the microprocessor. And then in the fifth generation, okay, still under development. And that's why it's not yet published in the market, I think. Okay. Now to elaborate the discussion with the evolution of the computers, okay, let me share to you my PowerPoint presentation. Hold on. Okay, so now we have this. Okay, we're going to start with this one. Okay, are you familiar with this? Okay, we're going to start with the history of computer a long time ago. Are you familiar with this image? We call the abacus. Okay, so class, the abacus, we started using abacus in 3000 BC. So meaning to say, we started using it during ancient times. Okay, that's how long we are using this one. So there are bits on the rods to count and calculate. So meaning to say, this is the very first computer. Okay, we use this to count and calculate. Okay. And by the way, class, for the information of all, okay, the abacus is still widely used in Asia. I think in Japan and China, they're still using the abacus to teach their students, okay, their students on how to count and calculate. Now, the abacus here, okay, it is divided into two. There is what you call the upper deck and the lower deck. For the upper deck, okay, in every rod, this is the rod, it's like the stick here. Okay, for the upper deck, okay, in every rod, there are 2 bits on it, okay? And then for the lower deck, on every rod, there are 5 bits in every rod, okay? So this is the abacus. Again, the abacus is used for computing or calculation or counting, okay? And then moving forward, class. So another way back, okay, another technology here, we have what we call the slide rule. The slide rule 1630 is based on Napier's rule for the logarithm. Okay, and it's still used until 1970s. So this is the slide rule. It looks like a ruler for us, okay, but this is not. This is used to calculate multiplication, division, okay. We cannot use this one for addition and subtraction, okay. It is only used for multiplication and division. And then aside from that, okay, it is used to calculate logarithms. That's why it is based on Napier's rule for logarithm, okay. And it can also use to compute the exponent, and trigonometric functions, okay. Next, we also have this one, okay. This is the history of computers in 19th century. If you are familiar with this picture, this is what we call a loom. Okay, when you say loom, class, it is a machine wherein we use for weaving cloths. Okay, normally, if you visited Baguio or Sagada, you will notice that they are still using the loom. They are doing this, they are using this to build some, to create their textile, their different designs, okay, like the mats, okay, or and so on. So they use this for complex designs, okay. So this is what we call, by the way, this is what we call the Jacquard loom in 1801. So this is the first stored program with metal cards, first computer manufacturing, and still in use today. And then next we have Charles Babbage in 1792 to 1871. So he invented the difference engine in 1822. It's a huge calculator, but it was never finished. He developed or invented another one, which is the analytical engine in 1833. The analytical engine can store numbers, okay? Calculating mill use punch cards, metal cards for instruction, and it is powered by steam. So it is accurate to 6 decimal places, okay? So this is the analytical engine, okay? That's how the analytical engine looks like. So again, it is powered by steam. They are using steam engine to get an electric current so that it can power up the analytical engine, okay? Moving forward, okay, for the first generation of the computers, okay, we have the vacuum tubes, okay? So this is not the actual computer. It is, the computer is composed of the vacuum tubes, okay? So it's in 1939 to 1954. So guys, if you will notice at the right side of your screen, okay, this is how the vacuum tube look like. It's like a light bulb wherein there is a glass protected here, and the circuit is inside this bulb. Okay, so again, this is the first generation electronic computer that use vacuum tube. Okay, the vacuum tubes are glass tube with circuits inside. Okay, so the vacuum tubes have no air inside of them, which protects the circuitry. So the UNIVAC in 1951 class, actually, this is the first fully electronic digital computer that is built in the United States. It is created at the University of Pennsylvania, and the ENIAC weighs 30 tons that contains 18,000 vacuum tube. Okay, that cost of all three of $487,000. So this is how the UNIVAC looks like. Okay, it can occupy the whole room actually, because if you will notice, the UNIVAC is really big. Okay, that's how the UNIVAC looks like. Okay. By the way, Grace Hopper here at the right side of your screen is the one who programmed the UNIVAC. Siya yung programmer ng UNIVAC, okay? So, she is a recipient of the Computer Science First Man of the Year Award, since she is the one who programmed the first fully electronic digital computer that is built in the United States. Okay? Next, maybe some of you, okay, will wonder, where does the word debug or debugging come from? The first computer bug was discovered in 1945. Okay? So it was actually discovered by Grace Hopper. Okay? So actually, when you say computer bug, okay, it's it is an actual bug, which is a moth. Okay, this is actually the moth. This is the actual picture, okay? This is the actual picture wherein Grace Hopper found a moth stuck in a relay that is responsible for the malfunction of the device, of the computer. So after that, she called it as debugging a computer, wherein she literally removed a bug in the part of the part in the relay or in the computer. Okay, so that's how we started using the debug or debugging, because nowadays, okay, the term debug or debugging, that is to check the error, look for an error. Okay, second generation. For the second generation class, okay, the second generation, we use transistors. Okay, this is not the computer, okay, but this is the actual transistor. So this is the very first transistor that we had. So it uses silicon, developed in 1948, and won a Nobel Prize, okay, wherein it has an on and off switch. Okay, and it is a second generation computer uses a used transistor starting in 1956. Okay, so again, the second generation actually started 1954 to 1959. We began using transistor in computer in 1956. So the transistor actually replaced the vacuum tube. Okay, so here we did not replace the transistor, but instead, in the integrated circuit, from the word integrated, okay, the composition of the integrated circuit are, we have transistor, resistor, and capacitor. So this is a composition of those three elements, okay? That's why it is called as integrated. That is integrated, that makes up a single chip. Okay, that's the integrated circuit that is being used in the third generation. Aside from the IC, under the third generation, we use the operating system. Okay, so when you say operating system class, it is a software wherein it loads a certain instruction every time you open the computer, when you boot up a computer. Okay, so please do not forget, class, that there are two different types of software. We have system software and application software. When you say system software, that is a software wherein you have to use, okay, you really have to use before using the unit. So that is typically the operating system. While the application software are the software or programs that can be loaded when it is only needed. Like for example, Microsoft Office, Adobe, okay, those are the application software. So for the third generation computer class that started from 1959 to 1971, again, these are the different technologies. We have the integrated circuit, we have the operating system, we're in the third generation technology. It's getting smaller and cheaper compared to the first and second generation computer. Now we're going to move on to the fourth generation of the computer. In the fourth generation of the computer class, we use a microprocessor. Okay, so the very first microprocessor that we have, okay, in 1971 is the Intel 4004. Okay, so this is the actual Intel 4004, wherein it is supposed to be the brain of a calculator, but instead, it turned into a general purpose microprocessor as powerful as ENIAC. Okay, so this is the Intel 4004, wherein this 4004 had 2,250 transistors on it. Imagine with a small device, with a small chip, okay, there are 2,250 transistors placed in that device. Next, 4-bit chunks for ones or zeros, okay, and 108 kilohertz, and it is called as the microchip. When you say microchip class, okay, it is also termed as the BLSIC. When you say BLSIC, it means very, very large scale integrated circuit. It is still an IC, but the only difference is that it is a very large, wherein it composed also with the transistor, resistor, and capacitor. Now, the 4004 microchip or the microprocessor Intel 4004 had 2,250 transistors, while the Pentium 4, if you are familiar with the Pentium 4 processor, okay, it has 42 million transistors, wherein each transistor contains 0.13 microns. Okay, so again, for the fourth generation, started with 1971 until 1991, but I think nowadays, okay, we are still using the microchip for the latest computers. Okay, so please be reminded that getting smaller and smaller, but we are still using the microchip technology. Okay, so now we are going to discuss the birth of personal computers in 1975. Okay, at the right side of your screen, class, this is what we call the MITS Altair. If you will notice, it's just a box without a monitor. Okay, so the memory of this one is 256 byte only. Okay, with 2 megahertz Intel 8080 microchip. Okay, and it's just a box with flashing light. Okay, and it costs $395 to $495 assembled. So again, generations of electronic computers. Okay, just to summarize. First generation, the technology we incorporated for the computers, we use the vacuum tubes. And the size of the first generation computer, it can fill up the whole building. While on the second generation, the technology that we use is we included transistor in the computers, okay? Wherein it will fill half a room, okay? So if you will notice, class getting smaller, okay? For the third generation class, we included integrated circuit or IC or like multiple transistors in the computer, and it is smaller. While on the fourth generation class, we are using microchips that consist of million of transistors, okay, wherein it is a tiny Palm Pilot, wherein it is as powerful as the old building size computer, okay? Like for example, your handheld devices, okay, your smart device or your netbook or your laptop and so on. So over the past 50 years, okay, the electronic computer has evolved rapidly. Evolution of electronics. We started with the vacuum, followed by the transistor, followed by the IC, and followed by the VLSIC or the microchip. Class, okay, the vacuum tube is a dinosaur without a modern line edge, because if you will notice, it's like a light bulb, okay, wherein every circuit is protected by a glass, okay, a glass tube. If we are going to include like 18,000 vacuum tubes in a single computer, that's why the univac is that big, okay? So we also have the evolution from the vacuum tube to transistor to IC into microchip. Okay, next. Next is the IBM PC class in 1981. So at the left side of your screen, that is the actual IBM PC. Now, if you will notice class in the IBM PC, okay, the CPU, okay, it's like it's in landscape, okay, nakahiga siya. Okay, the monitor is placed up above the CPU. And then we have a keyboard, and then there is a floppy drive here. Wherein you can insert your diskette, okay? So in this IBM PC, there is a joint venture between the IBM, the Intel, and the Microsoft. Wherein the IBM is for the production, Intel, they use the Intel microprocessor, and then they included Microsoft as the operating system of this PC. Okay? So by the way, here is the first wide-selling personal computer that is used in business, okay? They use the Intel 8088 microchip that consists of 29,000 transistors, and it has a 4.77 megahertz processing speed. Okay, and we also have 256K RAM standard, okay, and it uses 1 or 2 floppy disk drive, which is, I think, is on this part, okay? So after the IBM PC, okay, in 1981, we also have the Apple computer. The Apple computer was founded in 1977. The Apple II release 1977 was widely used in school. If the IBM PC before, okay, it is widely used in business, okay, this one. This is used in school or for educational purposes, okay? Now, this is what we call the Macintosh. It was released in 1984. Okay, they use the Motorola 68,000 microchip processor. So if you will notice class, okay, the CPU or the system unit is included with the integrated with the monitor itself. Okay, magkasama siya. So by the way, the Macintosh here is the first commercial user interface and pointing device, because beforehand, okay, our computers do not have any graphical user interface. Our computers can only produce like text-based, okay? Ganun lang siya. Puro text lang. Wala kang makikita any images, okay? And ito, yung pinagandahan nito, may mouse na. So, just to summarize the computer's progress, okay? We started with the UNIVAC. which is 1951 to 1970, that is built with some of the integrated circuits and the vacuum tube. Okay, and then we have the MITS Altair in 1975 that uses two Intel 8080 microchip, dalawang ginamit niya. And then the IBM PC in 1981 that uses Intel 8088 microchip that consists of 29,000 transistor. And then the Macintosh in 1984 uses the Motorola 68,000. And then the Pentium 4 uses the Intel P4 processor or microchip that consists of 7.5 million transistors. So imagine that. Okay, and then the RAM, okay, if you will notice from 512, okay, kilobytes, and then we have 265 bytes, 256 kilobyte, and 256 megabyte, okay. As the technology progresses, okay, the memory and the capacity of the computer is getting better. Okay, even the speed. If you're going to check here, the Univac is only 1.3 megahertz. We have 2 here, and then 4.77 megahertz, and we have for the Pentium 4, it's 3,200 megahertz, okay? And if you're going to convert it, it's 3.2 gigahertz, okay? Compared to this one. But of course, we've got a lot of better computers nowadays. But for the older version, for the history's sake, okay, this way is more better than even the great Univac, okay? And then aside from that, okay, the storage for the Univac is only 100 megabytes for the hard drive. Imagine that. If we're going to save, like for example, I'm going to save some video or I'm going to copy a movie. Diba normally, ang isang movie, it's like a gigabyte na, let's say 2 gigabytes, okay? Tapos imagine mo tong Univac na pagkalaki-laki na isang room na yung na-occupy niya. Tapos ang capacity lang pala niya 100 megabyte lang. Napakaliit, di ba? Kung ngayon natin pag-uusapan, that is too small. But during their time, it's quite big for them, okay? And then the MITS Altair here, it's 8 floppy drive, and then the IBM PC uses floppy drive, and then the Macintosh here uses floppy drive as well. While the Pentium 4, okay, it uses a hard drive, floppy drive, 3.5 floppy, I think, doon yung nilalagay yung diskette. And then we have the CD-ROM. Yan yung kunwari, mag-burn tayo ng files, ng music or video. Okay. Now, the size of the Univac, it can occupy the whole room. The MITS Altair is just a briefcase, no monitor. The IBM PC is a briefcase plus the monitor, and then the Macintosh is the 2 show boxes. So again, the Macintosh is, the system unit is integrated with the monitor itself. And the Pentium 4 is a small tower. So the cost of the Univac before is $1.6 million, okay? That's how expensive it is. And then the MITS Altair is $750, and then the IBM PC is $1,595, and then the Macintosh is $4,000, and the Pentium 4 is $1,000 to $2,000, okay? So that's how the computer progressed. So in 1990s class, the Pentiums and Power Macs, okay, early 1990s began the penetration of computers into every niche, like the every desk, most home, okay. So beforehand, those with desktop computers, okay, they only use that for business, okay. Basically, only companies have their own desktop computers. But now, okay, when we introduce the Pentium, that's the very first time that we have our own desktop computer at home. Okay, it started in around 1990s actually. And then this one, it is faster, less expensive. Computers pave way for this. Okay, and then aside from that, we use the Windows 95 OS or operating system in the Pentium computer. We're in the Windows 95. Okay, that is the first decent graphical user interface. Kasi nga beforehand class, nung wala pang OS na ganyan, we are just using the text-based computer. Okay, so the Macs became more PC compatible and easy file transfer. So the prices have plummeted from 2,000 for entry level to 500, and then 6,000 for top of the line to 1,500. So So class, I think we are all aware of this. Like for example, okay, yung dati nating computer na Pentium 4 na nagre-range ng 90,000 to 100,000 noong 1990 ah. Siyempre ngayon, the cost of that is too, syempre, mas nag-depletion, nagkaroon na ng depletion, mas mababa na siya, mas mura na siya. Why? Because the technology is already obsolete and there are better computers, there are better processors, there are better CPU units to buy, okay? Hindi ka na para kumuha pa ng old technology. Since medyo old na siya at obsolete na, syempre yung price niya bumaba na rin. Mas mura na. So for 21st century class of the computing, great increases in speed, storage, and memory. It increased networking speed in internet. So as far as I can remember, the internet started in 1980s. Okay? So widespread use of the CDRW, pero by this time class, the CDRW is already obsolete, okay? We are now using the flash drive, okay, external hard disk, okay? I think this one is obsolete already. And then 21st century is about the handheld, the netbook, the laptop, and so on, okay? Your smart devices, and of course, 21st century is about wireless and internet. Okay, so for the evolution of the doctor use computer, just to summarize, in 1990 and 2004, you can check the speed, storage, and memory, wherein you can see the cost from 1990, it's like $2,250. Okay, if you're going to convert that in peso, multiply by 50, I think, okay? And then for the 2004, okay, class, if you will notice, the speed is much way better and the storage is much way better than the 1990, same with the memory, but it is much cheaper, right? So what's next for the computers? Okay, use your imagination to come up with what the next century holds for computers. What can we expect in 2 years, and then what can we expect in 20 years? So that is the history of the 4 generations of computer. Okay, so that's the discussion of the 5 generations of computer. So moving forward, again, for the first generation, we have the vacuum tube, and then we have the ABC, or also known as the Atana software computer, or the ABC, in 1939. It is named after John B. Atana Soft, okay, the inventor of this, and he developed it in 1937. And of course, we also have the Z machine that is under the first generation that is developed by Conrad Zuse. Okay, in 1941, we also have the ENIAC, which means numerical integrator and calculator, which is developed by von Neumann in 1946, okay? So that is for the first generation. For the second generation, which is 1954 to 1959, okay? We have the punch card or transistor. Sometimes it is called as the Holy Record. We also have the IRMA, or the electronic recording machine accounting, that is developed in 1959. Third generation, we have the integrated circuit in 1959 to 1971, okay? It also has the PDP-8 that is launched by that company in 1968, okay? And then the fourth generation plus, okay, we are using the microprocessor, which is 1971 to 1991, but still, again, this is used nowadays, still in present, okay? And 8080, or the Intel processor 8080, is the first microprocessor developed in 1972. Okay, and then the fifth generation is still under development, which is about the artificial intelligence and natural language recognition. So guys, that's the end of our meeting for today.